You know, after being back on the land for for just over 10, 11 years, really, 10 years, really growing a lot of the food that I consume and producing excedent to sell at market. I've done this for the last 10 years before coming here to rebuild my grandparents' homestead. And spending time here in this piece of abandoned land, a couple hours a week for the last 3 weeks. I, I, I do a lot of reflecting because I see in society a certain crisis of meaning. And I know that we're living in a transition time. Um, the world, at least in the western part of the world, in the more uh, industrialized part of the world, perhaps, the future, not very distant future, but say 10, 15 years, it's going to be a very different world than what it is today. So my children, who are in their 20s right now, they're going to live in that very different world where the new technologies are going to pretty much dominate the labor market. And not just labor, manual labor, factory labor, where people think, oh, robots are going to replace the workers. And that's true. Robots are replacing more and more workers every day. But even the other labor, even like the work that people sometimes think it's not labor, because we have technology nowadays that's replacing a lot of human thought, human interaction. You'll notice that when you try to call big corporations on the phone, you're just met with a bot. You'll be hard pressed to get to a human being on the other side of the line. And that's only going to get more and more to be the status quo, to be how it works. So what are people going to do? What are people going to do? If we already have a certain crisis of meaning, and I can observe that, especially in big cities, how's it going to be when people don't have to get up in the morning to go to work? These are, I think, they're serious subjects. A lot of us avoid them because it can create a certain anxiety. I'm very well aware. I have friends of mine who sometimes I try to engage in this topic, and they want to run from it like the plague. But I've already noticed the trend a long time ago. So my returning to the land in my mid-40s was kind of in a way driven by that, the prospect of what we have ahead of us. So, I plan to live off of the land as long as I live, and I plan to leave for my children something that they can work with, work from. This land provided for my grandparents. They raised 4 children in that little house. My grandfather had a job outside of the homestead, but he quit working when he was 55. People can't afford to quit to working at 55 anymore. Not only that, but people can't afford to have just one income in that household with 2 children, let alone 4 children. So people sometimes argue, oh, it was scarcity and it was hard work. I don't know if it was hard work, but I know that the cities are full of gyms with people burning excess calories every day, sometimes twice a day. So it's, I think, a matter of perspective. Some people may say, oh, what you're doing here is so hard work. I don't think so. Actually, I don't think it's hard work at all. But if I put in my mind that it's hard work, then yes, I'm gonna dread coming here, and I'm not gonna want to do this job. So it's a matter of mindset. What we tell ourselves that we can or cannot do is really how it's gonna go. So having said that, what I want to get to is how I notice a lot of people would like to do something that sometimes they think is far-fetched or a dream. I've been accused. Well, maybe I shouldn't use the word accused, but I've been pointed at as someone who retired with a fat pension and is coming here with some kind of a passion project. My own friends call this a passion project. People who are supposed to know me better call this a passion project. It's not a passion project. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of living. Before I can live like my grandparents did, I have to rebuild this place. I have to clear the land again, like their ancestors did, to be able to grow crops in this field. Yeah, I'm taking advantage of contemporary technologies. I'm using the technologies that are available that make me more efficient. Somebody said, "Oh, put a herd of goats in there, and you don't have to do the work." Actually, you do have to do a lot of work to put a herd of goats in here. You have to clear the perimeter. You have to fence the perimeter. And you would have to have a dog trained with your flock, bonded with the flock. Alabaster wouldn't do this. If I brought Alabaster here with the goats, he'd run away. He'd jump the fence and wander through the village all night and then go home. So it's a lot of work. Nuance is everything when it comes to that. So to me, I'm just using some technologies that I feel help me out, and eventually the land will be productive again. I'll probably just harvest timber here, firewood, and maybe some timber for construction projects. I don't think I'll ever clear the field again to sow crops. But just like my grandparents, throughout their life, they acquired land as they could to be able to do what they needed to do. So maybe, who knows, maybe I'll acquire the next door. Is aging, he has no children that care about this, which is very common. Um, who knows? If that field is more clear, I could probably grow crops in it. But yeah, it's to rebuild a lifestyle. And it's a mindset. Some people say, oh my God, that's a monumental task. I don't know. I gave myself 3 years to do this job. To rebuild the homestead, make it comfortable, livable, productive. You see, I already grow a lot of my food, and I'll grow more and more and more. Animals are coming in. Not pets. I'm not building a sanctuary. I want to produce more than I can consume. I want to leave behind something positive, something productive, not abandoned. I want to leave something that my children can go to and live off of. I want to revert what happened between my grandparents' generation and my parents' generation, which was leaving a productive, sustainable, careful with this word, but it was sustainable. Their lifestyle was sustainable. It was the last generation that lived a sustainable lifestyle, sustainable for the planet, and went from that sustainable, productive lifestyle to an unsustainable, unproductive, let everything fall apart generation lifestyle. So I want to revert that. I identify that transition between my grandparents' generation and my parents' generation. And I'll say more. People often claim that my grandparents' generation, again, the scarcity, the hard work, a bit of a narrative. People convince themselves of this kind of thing. But I observed that my grandparents, when they passed and they left their patrimony, what they had accumulated throughout their life, to their children, my mom and her siblings, they had no money. You could say they were cash poor. There was no money in the bank account. They didn't have GICs, RSPs, investments. They didn't have any of that. What they left them was much better than that, much more than that. They left them a wealth of land that most of them didn't care about. They sold the moment it wasn't their name. So, in comparison, my parents, very different what they've done throughout their life and what they accumulated. And to me, what my parents accumulated doesn't even come close to the value, not monetary value, not money value, but to the value in the grander scheme of things that my grandparents left their kids, their children. So yeah, this is what this is. It's not a pet project. It's not a passion project. It's not a retirement project. a lot of uh, unjust, incorrect assumptions from people that see what I do, but understandably so. A lot of people come to their birthplace from wherever they spent their life with a pension to retire, to do nothing, to just live the rest of their lives comfortably and, and relax. And, I'm not knocking people that do that. It's what they want to do is what they gonna do. They have all the right to do it. But that's not what I'm doing. It's not me. Uh, I don't have a fat pension. Yeah, I've been working since I'm 18 years old. When my father dragged me kicking and screaming to Canada in 1986 when I was 18 years old. Uh, I don't remember if it was the day I got there or the week that I got there. But he said to me, you have to find a job. And that's what I did. And, I've been working since that age, since 18. So, with all the ups and downs of life, I managed to come back here with a little bit of money to do what I'm doing, to rebuild a way of life. And it all started with a dream 20 years ago. So if you have a dream, stick to it. It doesn't have to turn into reality tomorrow. It could be 20 years from now. So that's my word of advice. Don't let go of it. Don't let anybody tell you you're crazy. Follow your instincts. Thank you.